Kamaru Usman recently discussed a possible clash with Ilia Topuria. That's correct. There's a lot of conjecture about what will happen at UFC 322, which is just a few weeks away from Islam Makhachev versus Jack Della Maddalena for the welterweight title. Ilia Topuria is one of the most prominent names being mentioned. He has publicly discussed moving up to pursue double champion status. However, this is a viewpoint that most people haven't thought of. If Topuria and Kamaru Usman, his former sparring partner, wind up sitting at the top of the same division, what would happen? That situation isn't too unlikely. The rise of Topuria has been explosive. Additionally, Kamaru, who is still hungry and intent on reclaiming championship gold, would be right there in the mix if he were to advance and win the crown. And Kamaru covered precisely that in his most recent Pound for Pound podcast episode. The former welterweight champion talked candidly about the circumstances and the possibility that the fight might occur. He stated that JDM or Islam would probably be his next opponent, although he acknowledged that he wasn't positive if he would fight the winner, implying that he might end up fighting the loser instead.
I don't think Ilia is trying to stay here. If he does come up, he's chasing a fight. He's not chasing the divisions, he's chasing a fight. And if Islam happens to be that champion, then Ilia can potentially move up. But Ilia is trying to find him anyways. Islam could be anywhere. Hiding, not hiding, fighting, winning. Ilia gonna show up. And that's the guy that he wants. But even if he does win the belt, knock on wood, I know this is crazy, I don't think he's staying at welterweights. Who do you think? Why would he want to stay there and try to run through these big, huge guys?
Yeah, it's dangerous. It's a one-off. So it'd be a one-off. And the other question is, would the UFC want that? They don't like it when fighters come in and just take off.
Today, Khamzat Chimaev is once again making news. Rampage Jackson, TJ Dillashaw, and Bobby Green didn't hold back while criticizing Chimaev's uninteresting fighting style on a recent episode of the Jackson podcast. TJ took the time to clarify why Chimaev seems to get away with putting up a lackluster performance in the cage, despite the fact that Khamzat had previously trained with them and helped promote their platform. However, it's important to note that he has recently been under increased scrutiny. Glover Teixeira, Alex Pereira's coach, also voiced his disapproval of Chimaev's sparring practices. He emphasized Chimaev's brutality in training, frequently going very hard on opponents of lesser skill levels and displaying a level of dominance that some believe goes too far. In the spring of 2026, the newly crowned champion is anticipated to defend his middleweight title against Nassourdine Imavov, the top contender. It's interesting to note that Khamzat and Imavov have engaged in serious sparring sessions, with Imavov attesting to Chimaev's intense training regimen. Okay, let's start watching the video.
Same boat. I see the dominance and I appreciate the dominance and how good he is at something. But then there's a fine line of like, look, we're watching a sport because of the entertainment, because of the knockouts. And that's why I fought the way that I fought, right? Like I could have wrestled and I could have held him down, but no, I wanted to kick his head off. I wanted to see a highlight.
Yes.
I wanted to see a highlight.
That choice.
Yeah. I want to see a highlight for the rest of my life of me knocking someone out.
Choice.
Yeah.
I agree with both of you guys, but I think that the culture in the UFC now, and especially when people are fighting for belts, they just want to fight safe.
They just want to win. They just want to win.
They're big stars where they're from, though. You gotta understand this. They're
huge.
They got the whole country
They're
behind
huge.
them.
That's my point, is that like here in the United States, me as a fighter, if I'm going to be guys laying and praying and winning fights that way, I'm not going to be very popular. I'm not going to make a bunch of money outside the cage. They don't have that problem. They get a whole country behind him. He, you know, like everyone over in Russia, they get supported like they're royalty over there, no matter how they win. We have to win impressively.
Khamzat Chimaev continues to demonstrate that he isn't afraid to challenge more experienced fighters. This also applies to his most recent sparring disclosure. This time, he will take on another Russian UFC heavyweight, Alexander Volkov, who recently defeated Jailton Almeida at UFC 321, where Volkov defended against Almeida's wrestling for most of the bout while lying on his back. Unbeaten Russian prospect Roman Lukashevich, Volkov's sparring partner for that fight, recently made an appearance on Oshat Tika. He shared details about how hard those sessions have been and what training looked like when Chimaev and Volkov collaborated. Additionally, Khamzat's sparring has already garnered media attention. He is famous for giving his all during training. During his stint at Extreme Couture, Sean Strickland even advised him to relax, which is quite ironic given that Strickland has a history of roughing up influencers and people with no professional fighting background. Sean, who feels he is the only one capable of unseating the undefeated Chechen champion, has vowed to fight for the title no matter what.
Тот факт, что Александр тяж, Чимаев средний вес.
Although Alexander is extremely hard to subdue, Khamzat's takedown technique is generally superior. He is large, strong, and skilled at grappling. We saw firsthand how difficult it is to subdue him during his battle with Almeida. Alexander has a great deal of experience. It's really difficult for me to stand and strike with him as well. He truly strikes at an exceptional level.
Ну, а если представить бой Чимаева и Алмейда?
If we imagine Chimaev fighting Almeida at 205 maybe, how do you see that matchup going after seeing all this training stuff? Almeida isn't a big guy, while Chimaev, on the other hand, is a huge...
Given all of this training material, how do you think Chimaev and Almeida would fare in a fight at 205? While Chimaev is a massive middleweight, Almeida is not a big man. You see, since it's all fantasy, I generally dislike discussing things like this. I can say that in terms of overall MMA wrestling, Khamzat is superior to Almeida compared to most heavyweights. As the UFC 321 eye poke controversy continues to make headlines, it appears that significant changes may be imminent, and MMA fans are ecstatic. One of the officials most likely involved in creating any new regulations, veteran referee Herb Dean, discussed the matter with Helen Yee Sports and expressed confidence that something will be done. Enough people are tired of the eye poke situation that something is going to be done, Herb stated. We must give it a shot. Conversations have already begun. A meeting to discuss possible rule revisions is scheduled for November 4. He continued by saying that although there may have previously been reluctance to make significant changes, the current climate is different. Furthermore, Dan Hooker, a UFC lightweight, added his perspective on this Aspinall eye poke scenario. Known for his tenacity and unwavering will, Hooker acknowledged that if he were in Aspinall's position, he would also stop fighting. Let's get started.
I told him Aspinall because I'm leaving.
You're Dan Hooker, bro. You're Dan Hooker.
Yeah, but I tell myself I always do smart stuff and then I don't do it. But nah, that was bad, bro. When I seen the video and I was like, I saw the two. I was looking at this finger and it's like barely touching it. I was going, bro, that's not that bad. Then you look across at the other finger and you're going, holy wreck, he's trying to dig his brain stem out.
Yeah, sure. And it wasn't the first one. But back to the question, bro. Does Dan Hooker stop or does Dan Hooker keep going? I'm thinking I know the answer.
Nah. We're stopping.
Yeah.
We've had enough of it.
In theory, you're stopping. In practice,
in theory,
you're stopping.
In theory. In theory, it always sounds good.
I appreciate you watching. Remember to subscribe to the Daily News and leave a like.